Aye, shepherd's pie, greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat about Thailand today, because I was watching a video the other night. I was doing a bit of surfing and I came across this thumbnail, and it was something along the lines of reasons why or you cannot live in Thailand for $1,000 a month. So I watched a bit of it. It was some American guy. I'm not going to name the channel. Two reasons. One, I don't want to get in tit for tats with other channels. And I don't know the guy's name. Don't know him from Adam. Hadn't seen him before. Haven't heard him. I just started watching the video. It had about 7,000 views, so it's probably quite a fair sized channel. But I don't know the name of it. So there you go. But anyway, I'll pray see what he was saying, because I take exception to it. And he knows it's a controversial thing to say, because he said in the video, this is not what you're going to want to hear. A lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, you know. But basically his message was, you cannot live in Thailand for $1,000 a month. That it was impossible. That he couldn't do it and nobody could. And he knew some younger guys who had tried it and they couldn't do it. And it was just basically impossible to do. Now, he also said that there would be people leaving comments, you know, arguing with him, saying that it can, but not to listen to them, because it can't be done, you know. So I'm one of these people that you shouldn't listen to, because I'm going to tell you it can be done, and I'm going to tell you why it can be done. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I did it. For 5 years I did it, without any problem at all. So he's wrong. Now, I know it's a few years since I've lived in Thailand, but I still know people over there now who are still doing it. Because it's, not only can you do it, you can do it, I would say, and have a better quality of life than you can in the Philippines. And certainly a better quality of life than you could in your home country. Because this is the trouble with a lot of YouTube channels, I find. Because someone can't do it themselves, or because they haven't experienced it, they just declare point blank it can't be done. It's like me saying, you know, I go and run a mile in, I don't know, 7 minutes, 8 minutes or whatever, and I say it is impossible for anyone to run a mile under 4 minutes. Well, it's not, because people have done it, you know what I mean? Just because I can't do it doesn't mean it can't be done. But the point is, I mean, you could live anywhere in the world. I'm not saying, you know, what I'm saying is, you could live anywhere for $1,000 a month, but you'd have a terrible existence. What I'm saying to you is, not only can you live for $1,000 in Thailand, you can have a damn good life. Because I did it. And this is the trouble, as I say, with these videos. With the greatest respect, I don't think they're spreading, you know, crap on purpose. They just don't think it can be done because they haven't done it. Or they might not want to do it. And I'm not saying for 1 second that you should want to do it, or you should do it. I'm just saying it can be done, and this is how it is done. Because the lifestyle I'm about to describe to you may well not be a lifestyle that you want to have. And there are drawbacks to it. You know, there are pros and cons to everything. You make sacrifices in every choice of life you make. But anyway, enough of the intro. I'll tell you why it can be done. But I'm going to caveat that with a number of points, because you need to consider about these things, because certain elements of what he was saying were correct, but an equal amount were wrong, in my opinion, based on my experience, my 7.5 years in Thailand. So, can you live on $1,000 a month? Yes. But the first thing should be, I would not advise you to go to any Asian country or anywhere in the world to live as an expat, really, if you've only got $1,000 a month. You need to have emergency funds on top of that. You need to have other expenses for setup costs and things like that. If you've only got $1,000 a month coming in, and you've got no savings, no backup funds or anything like that, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, you know, we're all adults, but I'd think very carefully about moving anywhere, because, you know, all it takes is a bit of bad luck, a slip or something like that, a motorbike accident or something, and you're bang in trouble. What I'm talking about is on the assumption you have these backup funds and you've got things covered like, you know, medical insurance, etc. Then on month-to-month living costs, $1,000 a month is definitely doable in Thailand, depending on your lifestyle and where you live. Now these are the two big things. It's lifestyle and it's location. Can you go and live in somewhere like Pattaya or Bangkok and basically live your days out in holiday mode? You know, going out, drinking, meeting women, girly bars, all that kind of thing. No, you can't. Of course you can't. Of course you can't. It would be very difficult to live in Pattaya or Bangkok or Phuket on $1,000 a month. I know some people who've done that. I know a couple of people living in Jomtien on $1,000 a month. But their existence is not an existence I would want. I would not want to live that lifestyle. But they can do it. But if you're living in a place like that, there are a lot of things, a hell of a lot of things, you are not going to be able to do. Now, if you don't want to do those things, then it's not a problem. But if you do want to do those things, then you are not going to be able to. I mean, that's the reality. You know, I might go to Pattaya in a couple of months with Ellen. You know, we're going to be spending a lot more than $1,000 a month when we're there. I mean, you're talking a few £1,000 because it's a more expensive place. But Pattaya, Bangkok, Phuket, etc., they're a fraction of Thailand. They're tourist destinations. Obviously, Bangkok's not, but it's a major city. Living costs there are much higher than they are in the provinces or the small towns, little villages, and that's what I'm going to talk about now, where I lived. But realistically, $1,000 a month, you don't have to move to a small village. You could have a good life up in Chiang Rai or Chiang Mai, depending on your lifestyle. Now, I lived in, people in the channel will know, I used to live in a place called Phetchabun, which a little village called Bang Pat Phu, which was about 20 kilometres, not 20 kilometres, what am I talking about? It was about 6 kilometres outside of Phetchabun city, which is a small town. They call it a city, but it's a small town. I think it's got a population of about 30,000 people. And I had a very happy 5 years there in terms of the lifestyle I was living, what I did. I had a good life. And I can't think of a single month when I was there where I spent more than $1,000 a month, apart from the months when I went to Cambodia for a week or whatever, because you had to do your visa runs and things. But you could have just gone and come back again. You didn't have to spend a week in Siem Reap or a couple of weeks wherever. You know, just chose to, and they put the costs up. But those were in the days where you could do the visa runs. You can't do the visa runs anymore, and it was an expensive way of doing it. But the months I was actually living in the village, it was $1,000. Now, one of the first problems you're going to have if you want to move to Thailand and live on $1,000 a month is meeting the financial requirements. Because as I say, the old days of the visa runs where you could just cross the border and come back, they're long gone. They phased them out many years ago. So you're going to need to get a retirement visa, I would suggest, or you could get an ed visa, depending on your situation. Now, to get a retirement visa, you're either going to need to use a fixer, or you're going to need to have the funds. Because you have to have, I think it's the equivalent of £18,000. Don't quote me on the figures, do your own research. You need to have £18,000, which you put in a bank, or you need to have a pension, which is equivalent to £1,600. You'll have to these are English pounds I'm talking about. You'll have to convert it into dollars if you're, from America or Canada or whatever. Or you could have a bit of both. You could have a certain amount of money and a certain amount of pension. But you have to have those to meet the financial requirements. If you don't have the financial requirements, you just go to a fixer. There's lots of agencies in Thailand that will help you with that. They'll even deposit the money in your bank, so you've got the paperwork to go to. Not recommending you do that, I'm just saying that's how it works. But if it was me, and I was living on $1,000 a month, I would personally get a visa the right way. Because as I say, you need emergency funds. You need to be in a situation, you don't want to be exposed to an accident or whatever and not have any funds to pay for your treatment and get yourself in a hole that way. So I would personally advise that you've got the visa the right way, because that way you've got £18,000, the Thai baht equivalent, in the bank if you have any problems, as an emergency fund. Would make sense to me, but up to you. You could go the fixer route, do whatever you want. You might have health insurance. Health insurance is a good option in Thailand, but the trouble is, the older you get, it's going to cost you more. So you might decide to self-insure. The point is, you should have something. I wouldn't ever recommend anyone goes anywhere without the funds to self-insure or the adequate insurance. But saying that, healthcare is so cheap in Thailand. It blew my mind when I was there. So anyway, let's talk about life in my village. I had a good life there in terms of going out, eating well, active social circle of friends. Never went over $1,000 a month. Because it would be virtually impossible to do it there. Because I was living in a little village. I had a large circle of Thai friends. Didn't have many expat friends. I had a couple. There weren't many expats where we lived. So that's the key to this. Expats, wherever you go in the world, mean higher prices. Unfortunately, when we go to a place, we bump up all the costs. So as I said at the start of the video, this video, living on $1,000 a month, is not for you if you want to live in one of the tourist places. You're gonna really struggle. If you live in the provinces, you can do it, but you're gonna make a lot of sacrifices. Now, to me, they weren't sacrifices. So what I mean is, you're gonna find it a lot harder to communicate with people, because once you get to like the little towns like Petram City, not many people speak English, very few. You're going to need to learn the language. Now, some people, that would be the end of it. It would be like, I don't want to go there, I'll go to the Philippines because they speak English. Fair enough. Some people embrace the challenge. It gives them something to do. That's why I said you could get an ed visa. You might want to learn the language. But once you've got your visa away and you're living in a small town like I was, another problem you're going to have is accommodation. It's not like the Philippines, but it seems to be any village or town you go to in the Philippines, there's lots of houses, available for rent and that. There aren't when you get, certainly not in Petchabam there weren't. Very rare. I often look on Facebook, little Facebook groups, just to see what's up there, and there's very little. So it's going to be difficult to find somewhere to live. But once you've found somewhere to live, my God, it's cheap. A friend of mine, Steve, who came over with me, he was living in a hotel called Homelands. Had all his bills paid for, all his electric, all his, Wi-Fi, water. Had no bills. It was 6,000 baht a month, inclusive. 6,000 baht's about £150. He was happy doing that. Wouldn't have been for me. I stayed in that hotel for a week once when I had an argument with my girlfriend, and I started getting cabin fever after a few days. It wasn't for me. But he was there months, he loved it. I had a friend, Del, an expat, who was renting a house in the same village, Homelands. Nice little place, 2 bedrooms. He was renting it with his girlfriend. 3,000 baht a month he was paying, which is about 75 quid. When you find places in these smaller towns and villages, it's a lot cheaper than it is in the Philippines, in my experience. And it was a nice place, this was. Because there isn't really a market for them. I mean, he found that because the couple who owned it had moved to Bangkok, and they just wanted someone to look after the house really, so he got it that way. So it will be tougher, but the months before I left, there were people building like one bedroom little, not apartment buildings, I don't have those in that place, but little bungalows and that in the village where I was. And you could rent like these little one bedroom studios for about 4,000 baht a month. And they were nice little places. So accommodation is a lot cheaper when you get to the provinces than it is in the Philippines, or it is, say, in the tourist destinations in Thailand. Food is as cheap as anything. I tell you now, on $1,000 a month, you will be able to eat much better than you can in the Philippines on that kind of budget. And I'm not talking about the Thai food, you know, being better. I mean, we all know that Thai food is better than Filipino food, you know. You'd be a strange person to argue the case that it's not, let's put it this way. But vegetables and things are just so much cheaper. I mean, over here, it's quite amazing how expensive vegetables and things are. I mean, you're talking a couple of pounds for a few tomatoes. Potatoes. We got a couple of potatoes the other day and it was 150 pesos. You know, why they're so expensive here, I do not know. Ellen says it's because of cyclones and things. I've got no idea. All I would say to you is food is fantastically cheap in Thailand. Whether it's street food or whether it's, you know, just buying fresh produce from the market. So your food costs are going to be virtually nothing. Well, not nothing, but they're going to be very, very low. I mean, you could eat out 3 times a day in little cafes in Thailand, in any of the small towns, for 200 baht, which is about, what would that be, about £5, easily. But you're probably not going to want to eat out, you know, 3 times a day. You could get a bit of street food, going to lower your costs even more. Do a bit of cooking at home. You know, food is really not going to be an issue for you there. If you don't drink, your costs are going to be really low. I'm assuming this guy, the American guy, drinks alcohol. You know, I drink alcohol. I know a guy that's got a YouTube channel, a fella called Kevin. Well, I don't know him, I've watched his channel, an Australian guy. If I can find his channel, I might put the link in the description. But I used to watch his videos when he moved up to Chiang Mai. And he was living on about 1,000 Australian dollars a month. Because he was a single guy, he had a nice little apartment and it was a nice one. But he just, you know, he woke up in the morning, he ate a bowl of, like, you know, his healthy porridge, he drank his green tea, didn't drink alcohol, so he'd go for a stroll, he was learning the language, he would sit and read a book, he'd go in a cafe, he'd order, like, you know, I think he was a vegetarian. You know, he just ordered local Thai food. Now, he was spending peanuts, didn't drink alcohol. In the evening, he'd go back, read a book. You know, he might go to the cinema. You know, happy as Larry, leading a very simple life. He was able to do that in Chiang Mai without any problems at all. If you want to go to Chiang Mai and you want to party and you want to go to the student, you know, the fancy cafes and that in the students' areas, and you want to go down the red light district and that, yeah, it's going to cost you a lot more than $1,000. I'm not saying for 1 second it won't, but if your lifestyle is one where you're not a party anymore, or you don't drink alcohol or something like that, you're going to find it incredibly easy. Now, anyone who watches the channel will know I do like to drink, I do like to socialise, I do like to party, I like patio. I had a good 6 months living in Jomtien. You know, as I said, if I go on holiday again, if I take Ellen or whatever, I'm not going to go up to the mountains with her. I'm going to take her down to patio Bangkok. You know, I'm going to do the things I like to do. Because for a holiday, they were great. And I enjoyed it in Jomtien. And if I moved there now, I'd be expecting to spend about, I don't know. When I lived there, I lived on about £1,500 a month. With inflation and things now, it would probably be £2,000 a month. So I'm not saying for 1 second I would live there on $1,000 a month. But when I was up in the village, when I was up in Phetchabun, I was going out just as much as I would be if I was in Pattaya or somewhere like that. But it's just different. You know, in that village, the average person earned about 300 baht a day. 500 would be a good day. Most of my friends were builders. So a few days a week, they wouldn't even have work. I mean, they didn't have regular businesses. Some days they'd have it, some days they wouldn't. So if you're living there on $1,000 a month, you're living, you're wealthy. You're very wealthy for that area, and all the entertainment there is geared up around people who've got the kind of money my friends had. It's not geared up for people who've got $1,000 a month. As I say, if you've got $1,000 a month, you're what they call high soy, high person. Your class as being very wealthy. So there were a few bars in town. There were there was a hotel. What was it called? Cosset Hill. That had a like their equivalent of a nightclub down there. Thai nightclubs aren't the same. It's live band and singers, and you get the beer towers. And there was a couple of other places you could go to. They were dirt cheap. This is the point. When I was living on $1,000 a month, I wasn't economising. It would have just been very hard to spend more than that. I mean, to eat as much as you like buffets. I mean, they've got some great ones in Pattaya. Ninja, can't recommend them strongly enough. You get yourself down to Pattaya if you want to have a Thai eat as much as you like buffet. The Ninja ones are great. Well, I had 3 or 4 buffets in Petroban City. The most expensive one was 199 peso, 199 baht. That was it. Eat as much as you like. That's just over £4. So you go, you'd go there. We'd go there a couple of times a week. We used to go Mondays, used to go Saturdays. I think it's Wednesday nights. I'd go to Cosset Hill. A couple of days a week we'd have friends around. We'd go around friends' houses, or we'd go. I mean, the way it works over there is, you don't have bars where you go in and you buy lady can't speak, can I? You don't buy lady drinks and all that kind of stuff. Don't have them. What you do is you go out, you get a big bottle of Chang or a big bottle of Leo. You pour it round. You share it, and you get another big bottle. It's just the way it's done over there, and it's nice. You don't drink your expensive whiskies and things like that. You drink your Hong Tong. I can't remember what the name of that. They've got a few decent whiskies there. There's one called 100 Pipers or something like that, and there's another one. I don't want to say it because I'm going to mispronounce it. It's Song Sam. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, I used to like Hong Tong. Hong Tong and soda was my drink if we were getting a bottle of something. But a bottle of Hong Tong would be, I think it was 375 baht, or roughly something. Or was it 275 baht? I think it was about six pounds a bottle of this, Thai rum. It's all right rum. You get a bottle of that, and you get some soda waters. You go and you order it in the bar. You all sit around the table. You drink. You can have fun. It's you couldn't spend more than $1,000, even if you went out every night to a different restaurant. And there were lots of restaurants in Petroban City, and some really nice ones, really nice, good Thai food. There were a couple of Western ones. It was. But even if you went to a different one every night, even if you bought drinks for loads of people, you're not going to spend, more than $1,000 realistically. I know, because I was doing it. And the nice thing about Petroban was, and most of the towns there, if you want to have your Western foods and things, we had a few big supermarkets. There was a big Tesco's Lotus. There was a, what do you call that cash and carry place? I hate it when I make a video and I can't remember the names of, Costco. There was a Costco. There was KFC. There was a few 5-star. There was a few chains there. There was a pizza place. I can't remember. I think was it what the pizza chain was called. You had a Swenson's, the ice cream chain. Swenson's, rather, the ice cream chain. There was some Western stuff there if you wanted it. It was a good life, but it was cheap. And that's what I'm saying to you. These people are saying you're going to have to give up this, you're going to have to give up that. The things you're going to have to give up if you want to live on that kind of budget in a place like that is you're going to have to give up your expat circle of friends. You're not going to be spending time with expats. You're going to have to accept that you're not going to be going to bar bars, places like that. They don't have them. You're not going to have all the Western amenities that you've got in a Pattaya or somewhere like that. But not everybody wants those. I mean, newsflash, not everyone goes to Thailand for the red light districts. The vast majority don't. I don't know what the actual percentage of people that go to Thailand are going there because they want, a sex tourist. But it won't be a quarter, I'm sure, of the people that go there. I mean, that's the irritating thing about Thailand. People seem to think that people only go there for that. Thailand has got so much more to offer. There are far more backpackers who go travelling around Thailand than there are sex tourists that go to Pattaya or Phuket. There was a big increase the last couple of years I was there. Couples just going to live in Thailand for, retiring there as couples, not looking for Thai wives or that kind of stuff, just coming over as couples, settling, because you can get nice land, grow your own vegetables. There's so much you can do there. Fraction of the price it is here in the Philippines. And then we talk about medicals. It's unbelievably cheap when it comes in terms of medical care. That's what I'm saying. You need to have insurance, or you need to have some kind of backup plan, fallback emergency funds. But I don't think they have to be that great. I think that £20,000, £18,000 that you put in your, for your visa, that will cover a lot. I had to go to hospital twice when I was in Phetchabun. Once I thought I'd broken my wrist. Turns out I hadn't. But there were two hospitals in Phetchabun that I know of. You had a private hospital and you had the local hospital, the public hospital, which was free. They got free healthcare in Thailand. Don't have free healthcare in the Philippines. But it's free. But a strange rule about that is only free if you're in your province. So if you're from Phetchabun and you're working in Bangkok and you go to hospital there, you have to pay for it. But if you're from Phetchabun and you go to a hospital in Phetchabun, then it's free. Just the way it works there. So if people get sick, they go home. So I thought I'd broken my wrist. Turns out I hadn't, but got driven down the back of a scooter to the hospital, went in. The doctor thought I'd broken it. Straight in for an x-ray, no queuing. As soon as you come in, Westerner, they think you got money. Straight in a wheelchair, didn't need a wheelchair. They wheeled me in, took an x-ray of my arm. Within about 15 minutes this was all done. Told I hadn't broken it, it was just badly bruised. Gave me a collar, packet of painkillers, strapped it all up. As I say, I had a sling like that. Whole thing, I was there about 45 minutes, had the best healthcare I have ever had in a hospital anywhere in the world, the way they treated me. And it cost me 15,000 baht, which was equivalent to, I don't know, let me think about this, about £35. That was it. £35 to have an x-ray, see a doctor twice, get strapped up, all the medication. I asked them if I'd broken it, what he thought the cost would be, because I was worried I didn't have enough money on me. I thought it was going to cost like a lot of cash. And he said at the time, I said, if I've broken, what sort of cost we're looking at? And he said, well, if we can fix it with plaster and things. I said, I don't know, 2,000, which would have been 50 quid. Nothing. Now, about 2 years after that, I took a job teaching in China, which was a disaster. I've done a video on it. And they said I had to have a medical. I had to have an AIDS test, I had to have an ECG, I had to have a chest x-ray and all this kind of stuff. And they said get it done in your home country. Now I went back to the UK to sort out my Z visa, which is my work permit to go to China. And you can't get those done on the NHS. You have to go private. So I contacted a couple of private clinics. They wanted £700. I think the cheapest was to do it. And no one could fit me in for like 2 or 3 weeks. I phoned various hospitals. So it wasn't even practical. Forget the price, it wasn't practical. So when I told the school this, they said, well, you can get it done in China. We'll do it when you get over here. I thought, fair enough. I said, but it might delay you starting work. I went back to Thailand. I talked to my girlfriend one day and I said, I tell you what, why don't we try the private hospital in town, see if they can do it, or they'll be able to do anything like that. So I go down there, give them the letter, they looked at it, they said, take a seat, and I tried to explain them what it was, because I didn't understand the letter, but she took it away, looked a bit confused. And the next thing you know, they come back, 2 minutes later, someone's got a wheelchair and said, if you'd like to get in, sir. And I'm like, well, what for? I just wanted to find out about the medical. I was expecting them to say whether they could do it, or whether they couldn't, and if they could, when would I have to come back? They wanted to do it then and there. So I went with them, and I said, how much is it going to cost? They didn't know. Anyway, I thought, well, I need to get it done. I'm going to go with it. I was there for 2 hours. They did an ECG, they did a chest x-ray, They did an ultrasound. There was so much the Chinese wanted, but they did it all in a couple of hours. I was amazed how fast and efficient it was. And they even apologised because they do the AIDS test. They took the blood and they said, we're very sorry, but it's going to take us 30 minutes to get the results. Can you, would you like to get a coffee or something in our coffee shop? I think in the UK it would take 6 months to get your, 6 weeks to get an AIDS test if you went to one of those clinics. And that was that. And the whole thing came to £50. £50. That's what it was. So, £50 versus £700 in the UK. And they signed the paperwork, stamped it all up, and that. It was perfect. So, your medical costs in Thailand, the care is excellent if you go to a private hospital, and it is cheap, considerably cheaper than it is in the Philippines or most Asian countries. That's why so many American tourists and that go to Thailand to have their operations and to have their dental work and that done, because it's second to none. Thai healthcare is amazing. Just do a bit of research on it, and it's incredibly cheap. So, it can be done. I mean, one thing I will say is we didn't have any rent because it was her house, so it was all built and paid for. But as I say, even if I'd had to pay for it, I wouldn't have been paying more than, 5,000 baht a month, which is about 150 quid. Because I could have stayed in a hotel, or I would have found a place eventually. I would have found an apartment, friends would have got me somewhere. I mean, there were always places coming up in the town, but I was happy where I was. But it's just not true. The point is, as I say to you, you need to have, or you should have, I would suggest humbly, you need to have money on top, you need to have savings. But as long as you've got savings, as long as you are willing to forego certain things, and I don't think it should even be forego. A lot of people, places like Pattaya, aren't for them. I know a lot of people who won't go there, who have been there and think it's a terrible, seedy place. Me personally, I love it. I like different parts, different places for different reasons. But not everyone is going there to go to bars and get bar girls. Not everyone is going there to get drunk. Not everyone is going there to lie on the beach. A lot of people are going there for a great quality of life, a great experience. Trust me, you can do it on $1,000 a month in Thailand. You could then, you still can now. I know at least 3 people are doing it. I speak to them from time to time. They'll mention that things have gone up. Things have gone up. You used to be able to go out, get pad kapow. The going rate would be 40 baht for pork pad kapow, fried egg. Now, some places charge 45, 55. A bottle of Chang used to be 65 for one of the 630 bottles. Some said, they've gone up to 68. It's not really changed that much, and that is the reality. So look, as I say, I'm not saying you should go and plan to live there on $1,000 baht a month. Dollars a month. I'm not saying anything. All I'm telling you, in my experience and my belief, and this is not me. I've got no dog in this fight. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just saying it can be done. I am an example of someone who did it and had a fantastic time. Anyway, there you go. I've gone on and on. I think I've made my point. I hope I have, because I can't think of anything else to say. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it would be fantastic if you did. Whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.